I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Yes, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bolin, Commissioner Metcalf,
Present.
Commissioner Peterson,
Here.
Vice Chairman Halby,
Here.
Commissioner Duran,
Here.
Commissioner Bacon,
Here.
Chairwoman Verdugo London.
Here.
Great. We have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, we're just going to go ahead and walk on over the approval of minutes to old business. It looks like we don't have any old business, so we're going to go right into new business. Cool PZ 18-7-25, a preliminary plat. Do you want me to read this, or we're just going to go ahead?
Madam Chair, this
Yes.
this item is, we're still working on it from staff's perspective. We thought we'd be ready, but been talking to the applicant, so we'd ask that you make a motion in a second and continue this item till next meeting. And in the meantime, we'll meet with the applicant and work out some details on the roads and some other things we just didn't finish. And so we were hoping we'd be done by now, but we didn't get done. So this first item, we'd ask that you continue it with a motion in a second and a vote.
Okay.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I move that we table Cool PZ 180725 to the next meeting.
Second. Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay. We're going to go ahead and continue. All right, let's go on to B, Cool PZ 18-08-26, a preliminary plat submitted by Hanson Engineering on behalf of DVP Holdings LLC for a replat of Sundance Coolidge 3 for an 11-lot subdivision on a 10.15-acre parcel located east of Arizona Boulevard and north of Vaquian Road, legally described as follows. Sundance Coolidge 3, according to the plat of record in the office of the county recorder, Pinal County, Arizona, recorded in Cabinet F, slide 65. Director Lopez.
Madam Chair, Commission members, this is a subdivision or a vacant piece of land that's near the railroad tracks north of Vaca Inn. It's been vacant for quite a while. It was previously approved to have, I believe, up to 40 lots in that area. That's the way it was platted out. We had some discussions with the owner, that a gentleman that's here, the representative of the property, that's looking at putting in lots, but not as many, so it'll be reduced from that amount to an 11-lot subdivision, which is a lot, almost like a general rural type environment. It's more of a country zoning as far as the subdivision is concerned, from the higher density that could go there. So if he didn't build this, somebody could come back and just build all those lots if they wanted to, but they would legally have the right to. So we feel this is a better use of the property the way it sits. And so I don't know, Tim, if you have anything else to add?
I have nothing to add.
And then the actual applicants are here, so if you need to hear from them, I'm sure they'll come up. And
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Commissioners, is there anything you need to discuss? Oh, I said commissioners, is there anything you need to discuss at this point? Are we okay?
If you guys remember your mics for this purpose of the audience
Sorry
and
about that.
recording.
You're absolutely right.
I guess maybe I do have some stuff to add.
Okay.
We should probably go over some of the comments by staff on this.
Yes, please.
From a zoning perspective, Orlando Drive will probably be renamed to Orlando Court, consistent with our addressing and road naming standards. Tract C, which on this map is kind of down here, will be maintained by the HOA created by this, and they will be required to improve it. The owners of lots 41 and 42 here are part of this original platted subdivision. I can't see it either. You're just gonna have to watch for the laser. But on this map,
Can't see.
down here,
The little red light, little red dot?
okay, those are lots 41 and 42. They're part of this original subdivision. They need to opt out somehow from this. The original subdivision is. So in the original subdivision, which is shown in blue here, this is tract A, this is tract B, this is tract C. They're all part of the subdivision to be maintained by an HOA. Every lot in here has an interest in those tracts. So the replat, what you see over here, is reconfiguring everything except for lots 41, 42, and tract C. So for them to do this, these guys need to give up their interest in tracts A and B, potentially opt out of the HOA altogether. And that's not something we need to figure out now, but between preliminary and final plat, that will have to be resolved. The plat itself, as submitted, it just needs to have building setbacks labeled on all the lines. We need a method on the plat to abandon these dedicated right-of-ways that were created by this plat that was recorded in 2005 and vacate those in lieu of Orlando Court. The plat also needs to show locations of street lights in the gang mailbox and add found and proposed per bond units per the subdivision regulations. Fire comments, they really had none. They said the road, the length of the road and the width meet 2006 International Fire Code Appendix D. Public Works comments, the subdivision calls for a storm drain to channel the water off of Palm Court, which is currently draining onto private property. And it's run along this side. There's a spillway here with a drain line that goes to this basin. We just need a dedicated easement for that storm drain to be called out on the plat. Add an easement for a 12-inch water main that crosses this property here that's not shown on the plat. They mentioned that the code requires sidewalks, but in previous meetings with city staff for this subdivision, Orlando Court will be a privately maintained roadway, potentially gated. So the homeowners will be responsible for maintaining this road. It's going to have ribbon curb on it, and as such, we don't feel the need for sidewalks. It's something we agreed with them during pre-meetings. On the cross-section showed on the plat for 3rd Street, typical cross-section, it shows ribbon curb on the edges, and it will need to be rolled curb, 4-inch rolled curb, to match. We're talking about right here. This subdivision through here, and this one up here has 4-inch rolled curb, so it just needs to match existing. And then they'll transition from their ribbon curb here and match existing over here. We'll get to the public in just a second. Care should be taken when building on lot 11, which is here. There's a 12-inch water main coming through here. There's going to be a storm drain. It's a rather large lot. There's plenty of building area. It just needs to be aware that that stuff is clearly shown so they don't build over it. Stop sign shown on 3rd Street here was backwards on the plat. Just needs to be turned around. And if they intend to go through with this gate, they will need to provide a turnaround area outside the gate for vehicles that fail to gain access. And that is the end of the staff comments.
So, Madam Chair, I do have a couple questions. First question I have, Tim, is lot 11, isn't that a water retention area currently?
That's what it is used for, not, it shouldn't be. It's not a dedicated drainage area. it's catching the drainage off that's coming off of Palm Court
Right?
on the streets. Effectively, city drainage is being dumped onto that private property. It wasn't dedicated for drainage for Sundance 2.
Okay.
The basin that is down Track C on Main and Vaki, there is a storm drain on Sundance that collects water, and it shoots a 36-inch culvert storm drain down here that drains into there. The engineering calculations note that this basin is adequate to accommodate all this drainage here and what's coming off of Palm Court. Within the subdivision itself, the proposed 11 lots, the lots themselves will have retention. They will retain their water. They're going to be graded for irrigation. They're within the irrigation district. The developer was going to tap into the irrigation lines here, so they will hold their own water, and the street itself, Orlando Court, will drain back onto these lots. The drainage from 3rd Street on this new portion with curb and gutter will get channelized south, consistent with the way it's flowing now, and be picked up here, and engineering calcs say that that basin is adequate.
So the other question I had is, on our sheet, it shows that Orlando Drive goes all the way through to Orlando Court, but on there it doesn't look like it does go through.
Show me the paper you're looking at.
Figure 1?
Okay.
It says
Orlando Drive and Orlando Court are kind of the same alignment. There's a swing in there a little bit. There's some addressing issues with this entire subdivision in purple. They're technically all wrong.
Oh, dear.
It's not something that has anything to do with this, and it's not something we're even going to talk about tonight. But we change it to west to Orlando Court. The court designates the cul-de-sac extending off of 3rd Street. East of 3rd Street is a court. If it was going west of 3rd Street, it would be a circle. We have standards that outline that, and we will be able to reset the grid. If you notice down here at Sundance 2, your addresses are in the 200 ranges. 200 West Sundance, 221 West Palm Court. These addresses off of Orlando Court will be in those ranges.
I was looking at thoroughfare for emergency vehicle access.
Orlando Court does not exceed the maximum distance.
Well, I mean, if Orlando Drive goes all the way through to Orlando Court, that would be a good thoroughfare for an emergency vehicle.
Oh, they will connect.
Oh, okay.
They do connect.
Yeah, that was my question.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. There is a proposed gate right here.
Okay.
Um,
So potentially that whole corner would be a cul-de-sac as well.
It would, if the gate stays here, there will be some kind of bulb there that is cul-de-sac-like that allows people to turn around. If the gate doesn't happen, it's not required. And the gate, emergency service vehicles, trash trucks, things like this, they'll all have an access into there. I don't know exactly how that works, but I know we have another gated subdivision in Coolidge, and they worked it all out. There's a special code they use for emergency services or city services to get into that subdivision.
Yeah, or they put in a Knox box for the fire department to be able to just open it.
That's all I had.
Any other questions? We good? Okay, so we'll now open to the public. If you'd like, please come to the podium, state your name and your address, and if you'll speak directly into the mic so we could all hear you.
All righty. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay. There's the builders in here tonight. Nobody pointed them out. Are they here?
Yes.
And who are they?
Your name, sir?
Sir, excuse me,
The
sir,
mic.
what, real quick,
Yeah.
real quick.
Mike, nice
Sir,
to know.
Sir, can I get your name and address?
My name is Amos LeClaire, 200 West Sundance Drive, Coolidge, Arizona.
Hello, miss. Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, if you see where my home is on 200 West Sundance Drive, I'm going to use the mic too. I moved here 2010.
Okay.
2011, I tried to buy this piece of land. I was told, nope, it's not for sale. It's supposed to be a park. The reason I tried to buy that piece of land is the city of Coolidge, in their great admin wisdom, allowed a drainage ditch to be put directly in front of my garage. That I have a 3-car garage, 26 feet from door to door. I have pictures to show you if you would like to see them. That proves I'm only able to use 11 feet of my driveway. The rest is covered by this drainage that starts at 0 inch and quickly goes up to 8 inches and then across. The drainage ditch is actually 41 feet from corner to corner, which actually comes into right about here. The city didn't let me buy this piece. Nope, you can't buy that. That's going to be a park. There's actually a cement wall that goes across right here. That cement wall on your plot plan is supposed to be torn down, and this is supposed to be all one area. Now, since I've lived here in Coolidge, my 8 years, I have seen torrential rains twice, where this retention pond has came within inches from the top. I don't know what planning people you had tell you it doesn't, but believe me, I live there, I've seen it. It has come within inches of the top. Now on your plot plan it says a possible drainage from this area to come down through, right through here, and tap into that drainage. If they do that, all that water that is actually coming out of a hole in the wall back here and going this way into this drainage ditch will now feed into that drainage ditch. When that drainage ditch becomes full, what's going to happen with the water going in there? It comes in on this way, it comes in. There's the roads pitched both directions, so the water will come out right there. So when that becomes full, where's the water going to go? In my yard, in my driveway. Your plan is fouled. I would love for these people to say, hey, we'll give you this piece of land because I've been trying to get it. And there is no possible way I can use my driveway. 3 cars, can't do it. So I've been parking on this piece of land, keeping it clean for 8 years. That was mine. I tried to buy it. City said I couldn't buy it. City of Coolidge says.
City didn't own it to sell.
I know, but when I went to the city and I asked about it, there are people, their intimate wisdom said, no, you cannot buy that piece of land. It was in the original plot plan. It was supposed to be a park. I'm just quoting what they told me. Now, I've got a couple questions other than letting you know that information. Is there a set date for you to break ground on this? Okay, no. Is everything on this plan written in stone yet?
Sir.
That's what it's
Mike,
a pre-plan.
hold on.
That's what I wanted to find out.
The questions and any questions you have need to be directed at the commission.
They
can redirect them to the developer and stuff. but
Okay.
That's just how the rules are.
Okay, now, it shows on this new plan, this wall will be taken out. All the way across. I'd like to know if it's going to be taken out all the way across, or is it only going to be taken out to there? If there's going to be a new wall put in, starting at the adjacent on my wall and coming out to the road, coming across here and going back and connecting to this wall coming off of this property here. There's nothing in the plans that show if there's a wall or not. It's nice pencil drawn, Nothing in the plans to say if there's a wall or anything. Another thing, we're talking about the road. This road comes in like this. At one time it was designed for a road right here, and there's a gate right there. Somebody had built this wall and put a gate in. That gate's been closed for years. Matter of fact, I've actually put extra boards back in it because kids were tearing them out. That's going to be taken out. Is there a new road coming in here? I know he said up there there's going to be a gated community. How do you, if you fill in this retention pond and put a house back here, how are you going to get to it? I don't see any roads on the map. Okay? Okay, let's see. Okay, next question. I see electric, gas, etc., etc. There is no gas in our subdivision. Will there be a gas line going from behind the houses on Vakai Inn, because there is a gas line right there, to those housing units? Just a question, want to know. So, just for curiosity, people, for those of you that would like to pass these out, this would show how somebody allowed the city to build a drainage ditch in front of a driveway, which is totally, yeah, I bought the home that way. And I know Tim always said, well, you bought it that way. Yeah, I did buy it that way. But somebody somewhere, excuse my expression, screwed the pooch. They allowed it to go there. Some building inspector or whatever who allowed that to be built there. And I will tell you, the land adjacent to it, I've been keeping clean and using for years since I moved there, because I needed a place to park.
You certainly have a lot of questions that I can't answer at this moment.
I'm good. I'll let somebody else go.
Okay. Thank you very much, Amos. Please state your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Joyce Pearson, and I reside at 1228 North Orlando Drive. So essentially, I'm about 3 houses from the proposed new intersection and gate. I'm 3 houses down.
Okay.
And my main concern is, I know that all the streets are 50 feet in width on Orlando Drive, and I've looked at the plat map that they gave us. And my question is, why would they even consider narrowing 3rd Street, which is going to be a major traffic area? Why would they narrow it from 50, which it is at the beginning on the, what direction is that, south end, to, or no, that would be the north end, I guess, to 36, it goes down 40, and then to 36 feet wide on the south end? Because right now, the way it stands, we get a lot of traffic going up and down Orlando Drive, North Orlando. I never could understand why it was called North either. So like he said, it was misnumbered or misnamed. But there's a lot of traffic that comes in off of the boulevard, turns down 4th Street, and then takes, I guess that's Orlando, West Orlando Drive, and circles down our North Orlando. And it concerns me that if now all these new homes, I'm assuming they're going to be homes with at least probably 2 vehicles per home, that's going to add a lot of traffic to our street. And it at 50 feet, when I see the fire trucks coming and going in there, they barely get through because they have to deal with a lot of parked cars on the streets. And if they narrow it down to 36 feet, and there's any people out there or there's any parked vehicles out there, and there will be more of it, obviously, how are they going to get through? So I think that's a major concern of mine. I'm not a road builder, certainly, but I just don't feel that 36 feet in this day and age is ample, especially with all the houses in Sundance 2 that are already existing. Yes, they can go out Sundance and come out on Vaca Inn, but there's a lot of cut-throughs. There's a lot of people that take the back roads, so to speak. So it will definitely add volume. The second concern I have is that I'm new to Coolidge. I've lived here 2 years, a little bit over 2 years now, and I love this city. One of the reasons that attracted me here was the abundance of public parks, of open space, where people could pack a picnic and have their children. The playgrounds are wonderful. But in our little quadrant, there is no place for children. I'm assuming, again, that these houses are going to attract families. My concern is real for the kids. I'm a former teacher. Maybe that shows. But they certainly can't play by the railroad, by the tracks. They can't play by the canal. If the roads are narrow, we don't have sidewalks. Where are these people going to play? They'll be forced to the roads. And if the people are speeding through, I'm concerned about them. Why couldn't part of that wonderful land be devoted to a park? I was surprised to hear him say that in the original plat there was plan for a park. And I think that this plat should be allowing some plan for a park. Doesn't have to be fancy, but at least some open space. As I look at that map, there's a huge plat at the end there by the tracks, and then the one up by 3rd Street is a little dinky thing. Why? I don't understand that either. I'm not a plat maker, but there could be provision for something. And then my next question, okay, if this is going to be an HOA, I would want the people in Sundance 2 and the people in our J.A. Roberts subdivision to be able to use the park. I wouldn't want it walled in. So the concern of a wall raises, my eyebrow and saying, well, is this just strictly a private estate plan, or is this going to be part of a community neighborhood plan? So that was one of the things. Then the last concern I have is what impact will all of this have on the rest of us owners who are in the nearby plats? Our property lots are not nearly as large as these, but they're old homes. My house was built in 1956, but they're in great condition because people have cared about them and taken care of them, even though there's a lot of rentals. Beside me and across from me, I have lots of rented properties. Will there be some provision about these lots and how they're going to be maintained? I know you said that they're going to have to maintain their own street, but I certainly would hope that this would not impact and lower our property values of the people who do take care of their homes on Orlando. So thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Dora Monsanetto. I live at 1225 North Orlando Drive. I've been there 25 years. And I am just concerned with the traffic myself because we have had chases in our area that took out one of my cars. I stay up late at night and I have a lot. You can hear the traffic go by so bad. They don't care who lives there. We have a lot of new kids around the neighborhood now. So I'm wondering if they're even considering if that housing goes up, if they're going to put speed bumps in our area and more lighting, because it's dark and sometimes those lights go off and it's dark out there, and we have a lot of kids playing, and like I said, there's no little park for them to play, and they're all on the street because everybody goes in their front yard. All our neighborhood, they gather in the front yard, and the kids are always running around. So that is my main concern is the traffic. Because I think that Orlando Drive is going to have a lot more traffic than the other streets. Because they're going to use that as the main road. So that was my concern.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Max Zelinka. I live at 1108 North 3rd Street. I've been there about a year now. I have major concern about traffic also. That seems to be one of the major topics here tonight. I have a 5-year-old daughter. I live next door to a gentleman. He has 3 children. I live across the street from this gentleman that has a child. I'm not ashamed to say it. I've called the cops many times on people driving through that neighborhood, to the point that I carry a gun outside. Because I'm telling you guys right now, first person that hits my child or his child or my neighbor's child, they're going to deal with me. Because I've already called the police. They don't do nothing. I've called city council. They don't do nothing. Only person I've had help me so far is Terry Hoover, which is part of Public Works. He's came in and put in child at play signs. These are jokes to everybody. They still fly through there. So you guys can check with the police department. Many calls I've been put in there. So my name's known. Other question I have is, same with them. If you're going to be putting more houses in there, that's definitely going to be more traffic. What is the city going to do? I don't care about the home builders. That's not their problem. That's the city's problem. What is the city going to do? You know, we live here. I've been here all my life. I went to school with Tim. I've been here forever. I'll be here forever. That scares me. You know, I remember as a child, you went out and played in the street. You played on the sidewalk. Car come, you move out of the way. But the thing was, it was people that knew kids were there, slow down, let them get out of the way. And you didn't have to worry about it. Street light came on, you knew you went inside because your parents dealt with you if you didn't. And that's the way Coolidge should be. That's the way it used to be, and it needs to be. You know, everybody and their brothers moving to Coolidge. Look how many subdivisions we have. Look how many of them are empty, abandoned. I don't know. I mean, it's a sad town anymore. And it's a city I blame. Next question I have that's a concern, which Tim could probably answer that right now tonight for me, is I heard the word HOA. I don't like that word. How's that going to affect us here in the yellow? Are we affected at all by HOA? So I ain't got to worry about all of a sudden getting a... Okay, thank you. I needed to know at least that tonight.
I'm taking notes of all your guys' questions. When you're done, we'll run through some answers.
Okay, yeah, that was my main concern because I know a guy was telling me he bought in a subdivision, there was no HOA. All of a sudden a builder came in, started building houses, now he's got an HOA. I just want to make sure I don't have that because I don't want that. But my main concern is, what is the city going to do for us and our children? So on that, I'll let you guys,
Thank you.
somebody else have it. Thank you.
Good evening, folks. I'm Kenneth Kitzmiller. I live at 229 West Palm Court. They're right on the corner, right across the street from Mr. Vance there.
Okay.
And, well, I have a couple questions. One, very important to me, is the proposed grade in the new subdivision. How far back are they going to go? How far down are they going to go? And if there have been any studies at all about the impact of the wall and the canal in that area they're going to build up to the canal. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of vibration, a lot of earth movement, a lot of vehicles, homes, and just as anybody took into effect, what that might do to that concrete canal wall at all. And of course, we're going to be bringing in new utilities like Cox Communications. I'm pretty sure they're pretty big here, which they can barely keep up with what they got going on right there in Palm Court in that area. I don't know if anybody else has got Cox and all the problems with it. Anyway, so there's that concern. Another one is too, this is nice English teacher here. Man, that was very well. I gotta give kudos for that because there is nothing for our children to go. No little parks or nothing. And I believe that the city could benefit. And these builders, everybody's in a summer for it, all right? But I'm really concerned about the concrete wall backing out. I think somebody should at least take some kind of concern of that and see what kind of long-term effect that it may have in that construction on that canal. If that's ever broken, you're gonna flood that whole area. I know that about flood insurance. And you know, see that flood insurance? I'm pretty sure that canal pumps a lot of water down there. So I believe that should be a good topic to face concern about. But I think very much.
Thank you, Kent.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Shear. I live at 200 West Palm Court. I've only been there about 3 years. I don't have a lot of concern about houses being built over there because it'll be kind of nice not for that to be a dirt track for everybody. And all the trees that they push down that could be a fire hazard, I'll be glad to see those gone. But I am concerned about a couple of things. One thing I think might help, and this is just a suggestion, I don't plan anything, even my own life, so just take that for what it's worth, but I think some of those yield signs should be stop signs. You know, I mean, the stop, people usually pay attention to that. Yield, people say screw it and go right on through it. You know, that's just the way it is. The speeding is bad. I've almost been hit in the rear end slowing down for the kids. And I live on a cul-de-sac, just like the one these gentlemen are putting in. So if they're speeding on a cul-de-sac, imagine what they're doing on these open roads. Also, these lots are pretty big. My question is, are they going to have like horses and stuff in there? I don't have a problem with that, but I have had horses, and I know if they're rubbing on my back fence, it's not going to withstand a horse rubbing on it. So I would welcome animals. I don't have a problem with that. But all I'm saying is they would have to protect the fences that are already there. I don't even know if that's an issue or not. And I also had the question about the HOA, because the whole reason I moved there is because there isn't one. I don't want anybody telling me what I can plant, what I can't plant. Other than that, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. You're okay.
My name is Helen Belt. I live at 204 West Sundance Drive. I've been here for 8 years. I worked at the prison till I went legally blind. I am retired. I have limited income. I don't want an HOA. I was told we were grandfathered in, and that's the reason I bought this residence also. And these people are right. I live sort of where a lot of traffic goes through. Even the dump trucks that came through with the trash yesterday, since they weren't picking up much, were going through there about 35 miles an hour. And I think speed has become a problem, but my main concern is I don't want an HOA, and have been told that when I purchased the property would not be one. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
Hello, my name is Victor Pereira. I live at 1221 North Orlando. I have a small, well, it's, you know, a kind of a radical concern. I think that it would be best served not to undercut this man here, but I was saying maybe they should just block it all off there and then make the entrance here. If not, make a bridge over the railroad tracks and then come out on Buckeye somewhere. That way all this is locked off. Less traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Would anyone else like to speak?
Hello, my name is Art Manzanato. I live on 1225 with my wife. The concern about this I have is if North Orlando is going to be mainly used for main traffic going to West Orlando Court, I don't like it because we have enough problem right now with speeders, people coming from other neighborhoods, Sundance 2, around from Palm Lane, just speeding all the time. Like that guy over there said, you have to have a gun sometime, but that's not my occasion. But it's good to have something like that because you never know what kind of smart rear person's going to be coming around. Now, on the north side of that West Orlando Court, is there going to be an alley like behind the north against the canal, or is it going to be fenced in? I'm talking about this right here.
I know what you're talking to. I was just going to run through the list when you're done. There's no alley for this subdivision. No, there will not be an alley.
How is people that want to walk from the neighborhood go walking like they always do? It's going to be blocked off. We're going to have no place to exercise, to enjoy life like it has been. I know they use this area for hot rodding, speeding, RV, rangers, motorcycles. I've seen that. I've called cops on it. But this street right here on North Orlando Drive, to me, it's a no-no for the main drive. It could be the main thing, even though you got this side here going up, and you got this side up, we don't need no more traffic to do that. It has to be a better proposal than that on the entrance. Right, and speed bumps ain't gonna help, signs ain't gonna help, and then the way it's planned. I pity this guy right here. Because it's not planned the way it should be. And then for everything to go around and meet that corner, that was something.
Thank you, Art. Would anyone else like to speak? Please come to the podium, state your name and your address.
Mike Brinkeroff, 429 North Nafstiger, Coolidge. Excuse me, I'm sick. I'm one of the developers. I have a partner. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that this 38-lot subdivision is approved. I lived on 1227 North Orlando for 3.5 years, next to Art and Dora. I have 3 kids that grew up there. I understand the traffic concerns. I live there. I'm not some developer out of Phoenix who's coming in here to slice and dice the land. 38 lots is already approved. That's the approved plat of Sundance 3. Living there on Orlando Drive, where I did, I saw people dumping trash there all the time, tearing up. The property became available. I went to a developer and I thought, you know what, that would be really nice to have irrigated, cut the density down, so there wouldn't be 38 lots. We're proposing 11 total lots compared to 38 lots. That's approved. We're trying to replat it, so instead of 38 lots, you're going to have 11. The HOA was something I wanted to stay far, far away from. The problem is we do want to have a gated community. We want to have a private gate going in. We want to regulate what kind of fencing they can put in to protect your property values. I lived on Orlando. It's a beautiful area of Coolidge to live. We don't want people putting up chicken wire fences and T-post chicken wire fences. There's no way for us to get around the HOA. HOA would not impact anybody else in Sundance 1, Sundance 2, and believe me, if there was any way around the HOA, we would do it. But in order to maintain the road, maintain the service of the gate, maintain the landscaping that the city of Coolidge is going to require us to put in, there's got to be some form of revenue from these homeowners that buy these 11 lots to maintain that. That's the only reason for the HOA. We're not going to tell them you can't park an RV there. We're not going to tell them you can't work on your truck outside of your garage. And if there's a different way to word it, it wouldn't be an HOA. So I just want everybody to understand the 38 lot is platted. That's the way the third plat of Sundance is platted to be. That's 38 homes. So if you guys want to talk traffic impact, we're cutting that down by 2/3, going with 11 lots. You know, I live there. I know. I threw a hammer at a guy's truck. Art and Dora were out there calling the cops, and I threw a hammer at his truck because he came. We can't do anything to enforce the laws as a developer. The other issues we have was long before Tim was here, Gilbert was here. There's issues in every neighborhood. We're not coming in here trying to slice and dice. I live here, man. I coach at the high school. My kids go to school here. I'm a part of this community. So whatever, you know, reflections you guys have of developers, I'm not that guy. I live here. I coach baseball at the high school. My kid is a senior playing football at the high school. This was something to bring, I wanted to bring nice to the city of Coolidge. I think this would be a great asset. I love the area. I think it would improve the property values, and it would give, and yes, horses are allowed. In the city of Coolidge, it's 10,000 feet per one livestock animal. So if you're on a 10,000 square foot lot, you can have one animal. So that's the city code.
Except pigs.
Except pigs and roosters.
And roosters. Pigs and roosters are not permitted.
Yeah, pigs and roosters. So, and as far as the drainage and everything, we have hired engineers to look at all these problems. This is just the pre-plat stage. We're trying to figure out what we need to do to make this work. I don't know, I no longer live on Orlando. We moved a couple years ago, but I do understand the traffic. There's nothing we can do to enforce people breaking the law. Like I said, I threw a hammer at a guy's truck. Art and Dora were calling the cops. I know, I live there. But I think 11 lots would be a whole lot better than what's already approved, 38 lots. And that 38 lots is already approved. That's, if I was a developer today and I went in and I said, all right, City of Coolidge, I'm gonna carry on Sundance Phase 3, here's the plans have already been drawn for it. They'd have to do a revision, of course, but it's already been approved. We're trying to change that from 38 to 11. So, that's it. That's
Thank you, Mike.
Can I ask Mike a question?
Sure.
Mike, come back to the microphone. Lot 11, it was brought up a while ago. Where's the entrance to Lot 11 going to come from?
It's come off right off Main Street on that curve right there.
Okay,
That'd be a driveway, the private driveway right there. Yep.
West Sundance Drive is a public street, and the street frontage for that lot 11 is greater than anything else in that subdivision. It's upwards of 80 some odd feet.
So just that one lot wouldn't be in the gated community?
It would be a part of the HOA. It would be a part of the HOA, but it would not be entered through the gate. It would have its own access right there. And again, that was because of fire codes and access and everything else. We're trying to lessen the burden on the city as much as possible. There was talks in the preliminary stages of us doing this, turning that maybe into a tract, but then who's going to maintain it? City of Coolidge does not want to maintain any more than what they already have to maintain. And by doing some drainage research and engineering, which is still in the process, we figured we can make that a usable lot. Instead of a liability for somebody or the City of Coolidge. It would be a private lot. With some easement encumbrances on it, of course, because of the water line and everything else, but those encumbrances would be on the person, the owner that bought the land. And just one more thing while I'm on the topic. These are not going to be cookie cutter houses. We are offering land home packages. So it's not going to be, here's plan A, plan B, plan C. I like this lot. Okay, what house would you like us to build you? And they can have their own plan, or they can use one of our plans, or, you know, it's not going to be, here's your color scheme, here's your floor plan, pick one of these two.
That 36-inch water main, I think it's a 36, or storm drain that's blocking his driveway. Are you going to move that, since that corner's going to all be changed, because your driveway's going to, you're going to have a...
I'm not an engineer, and I can't...
I know.
Yeah, I can't be responsible what the previous developer did or his mistakes. What the engineers tell us that needs to be done to make sure we have proper draining and nobody gets flooded, of course we're going to do. But I'm not an engineer.
No,
Yeah.
Okay, look at it, because I think you're going to need to move that corner around the corner to change where that line goes, where that entrance to that line goes in.
You're kind of right. Our public works directors looked at this, and what's shown on this plat as proposed, he said those angles just really aren't feasible. And what needs to be done is extend that lot, or that line down from where it's running parallel to 200 straight into the street and intersect the existing 30-inch storm drain, 36-inch, and put a manhole there for access and come in, so it's more of the 45 instead of these angles back and forth. That was the comment from Public Works.
Yeah. Okay.
But these guys will in no way be
No, I
moving
know.
that storm drain.
But there's got to be something done there because of all of the changes that's going to take place on that corner.
They need to move where the water off of West Palm Court is going into an approved basin.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be draining where it's draining now. But who knows how that happened. They're going to fix that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm still concerned about we get the main road straight people or easier access to go to North Atlanta Drive. Are we going to go, well, if they plan this, are we going to know more about it in the coming months? Come back. You are, now, another thing, what I don't understand, I know there's a certain amount of utilities from here to wherever, but I think these people, we should have all been over like on Mel, like the 2-3 houses from here. That way. All these people, there's a lot of them who know that. We could have had more opinion from the neighborhood. And if they ever do go this route, I just hope the city can put some speed bumps on the map. And that's gonna cut us, that's another, it's gonna cut us off from taking, everybody likes to go on Bike Drive or exercise on Canal Bank. You can't go right here because you got a fence on top, which is good. But the fence breaks off over here by the railroad tracks, but we can't get through there no more. Now we're gonna have to go completely around it or around the other way. And people walk the dog, you know, all the street.
Thank you. Okay, would anyone else like to speak?
Okay. Now, I have a suggestion. Seeing everything ain't written in stone. You guys, on your pot plan, and he said it's going to be changed on the drainage. Now, the way the drainage, the paperwork said it was going to come out, cut across my property, corner of my property, into that drainage. When I mentioned to him Tim on the phone the other day about this retention pond, okay, this retention pond, like I told you, I've seen it almost filled twice. If they do anything with the water from that area and bring it out here, this thing has to go deeper or bigger because it will back up. No ifs, ands, or buts. I've been here 8 years, I've seen it almost at the top. Now, I mentioned a couple weeks ago when I talked to Tim, a young lady about 2 months ago was driving into our housing area. I assume she was driving into our housing area. There's a little gate, a little cement wall here. She ran into it. Needless to say, a couple helicopters had to come take her kids away. She rolled her car into that retention pond. Nothing has been done. Nobody's contacted the insurance company, whatever, to repair that wall. It's destroyed. Okay? Don't know if it's the city, who's Public Works, who's supposed to be in charge of that. Like I said, there's one thing we can possibly do. We're talking about a park. There's a cement wall that cuts across here, and the wooden gate there. Why not make part of that a park? Leave that wall up, leave your 11, fill your pond up, put your house up in there, then make a park in here. Make sure the wall's high enough where kids can't get onto that railroad track.
That's going to be the entrance to that lot.
This, right now, if you were to drive down there and you could go through that gate, it's padlocked. You could go through that gate. You'd come into here and see there's actually like a wellhead right about here. There's an opening right here where the water comes through and comes into the back. Opening about so big in this wall. This retention pond's been holding the water from this area. This has been more or less high or dry, point blank. I've kept this totally clean of weeds and everything for my 8 years. Over here, I've actually picked up trash where people drove in and dumped their trash. And like this guy over here that said, the trash, yes, graffiti, trash back in here, so on and so forth. And it's looking pretty good now. It's cleaned up. So, just throwing it out there.
Amos, thank you very much for your input. If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay.
Well, if there's no one else, I'd like to close the open portion of the discussion. Yes, come on up. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Just someone that had not spoken yet.
Hi, my name's Veronica Perea. I live at 1221 North Orlando Drive. We lived in this neighborhood for about 5 years, but I was born and raised here in Coolidge. I think listening to the concerns of the family, the neighborhood, the people who live in our neighborhood, I think our main concern is making that Orlando Drive into that main road that has that cul-de-sac. It just seems that the traffic is the main issue for all of us. We have grandchildren that are really little, and like everyone has mentioned, our grandchildren play in the front yard. A lot of people in our neighborhood, you'll see kids all over the streets. There is not a local or a, how would you say it, a yard or a playground in our neighborhood for the kids to play. But it seems like it would alleviate all of our complaints or our concerns if that road was rerouted the other way that goes through, I think it goes through Maine, where this gentleman was saying that his house was. Because if you take that away and you put it here, you're only affecting 1 or 2 houses right here. Versus this way, if you're putting it here, this making our road into the main court, it affects everybody. It affects everybody and brings more traffic. It would reduce the traffic and alleviate all of our concerns if we did not make this road into it. You're already making an entrance for this house. Why not make this entrance as the entrance in blind. And we had to come out, we had to always watch we had to put our own little playground in our backyard because there is nowhere else for anybody's kids to go to. So I mean, that's just our input, but I hope that all of you listen to what we're having to say because it does impact. That's an older neighborhood. I think everybody's been there for years. A lot of them have. And some of them don't know what's going on. But I think that our main concern is reducing the traffic, not increasing the traffic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Joyce Pearson again, 1228 North Orlando. Listening to the discussion has been eye-opening for me as a newcomer, but still even another idea that I guess I'm confused as to why that second row of lots have to be that large. Why could not another solution to the problem be to make those lots smaller on that second row there on West Orlando Court, make the lots more uniform, and that in doing so they could even increase the lots on the canal side there, but doing so would move Orlando Court driveway down so that there's not going to be a straight shot, a speed shot from going by our houses on North Orlando Drive. Right now it's a straight shot. We know they're speeding all the time now in this short little section. Now, certainly if they gate it, there's going to be a dead stop. So what's going to happen? Are those cars now going to back up? Like the one lady said, she was almost rear-ended. There's a problem, and it needs to be addressed before the lots and everything gets done in its final. This is preliminary. And my last question is, so what's the follow-up for us residents? When do we get to come back after you've heard our input? What's the time plan here?
Thank you. We'll get you some answers.
Madam Chair, I just want to address the issue of the lots. Mike was right. Those lots on the left, the 39 or 40 lots, they're existing. If a builder came in today and said, Coolidge, we're going to start the process on this, we couldn't stop them. It's already been approved, just like the bottom lots were built. So you'd have to deal with 39 lots tied into that street that's already approved. We couldn't take it away. They'd sue us. So when Mike came up with this idea to put in 11 lots versus 39, that's better. I mean, from our perspective, we said, wow, that's less houses, less people. It won't have as big of impact. So from a planning perspective, it's a better alternative than what's already there and legally. You guys don't see it because you see a vacant lot. I mean, you think, well, it's empty, nobody, but it's owned, it's private. The city can't, in Arizona, private property has a lot of rights. Cities have a real tough time. We use zoning laws and other things, but if somebody like D.R. Horton came in and said, we're out of lots, we want to build on these, and we're going to put little houses on there because it's perfect size, our attorneys would probably tell us we couldn't stop them. We'd have to work with them and put the roads in and do all that. We'd come back to P&Z and they'd look at it. But as far as the alternative, I think this is probably better than what we have right now. Just so you know that, because you may not think of that. You think, well, we just don't want it to go there, but it's private property and they have rights. Just that Mike's trying to do something good because he's part of the community, and we've been working with him for about a year and a half and trying to come up with something that works, that doesn't bring a lot of density. And even then, it's difficult when you have less lots to make it work out because he has to charge more per lot just to make it work. So those houses can't be like slum houses. They got to be pretty nice homes and worth quite a bit to make that whole thing work. So, I just wanted to be aware of that. I've lived here with council and everything else, and it's difficult. You don't want to see any more. The one thing we could tell you is we'll make sure to mention it to the police chief and see if they can increase, we do that with everything, of course, try to increase the traffic surveillance. I have the same thing in Heartland. It's worse for me because I have a straight shot. Everybody comes in through my street on Pinkley and 23rd, and I've got people crash to spin out in front, crash into my tree, and I've got 7-year-old little girl, and it's just we're all over the city. We're facing the same thing. So the police are everywhere trying to slow traffic down. So we're trying to come up with solutions, but not having anything there, I don't know if that's really the right solution. As far as the next step, it would be when Mike gets everything, if everything goes forward, then he would work out all the details, all the engineering and all that, and then bring a final plat back. But that depends on the timeline of when he would do that. If it works out. I mean, he may say this won't work; it's too expensive. I'm leaving those 40 lots, and because nobody wants it here, and then you're basically stuck with that, and we can't stop it. So, it's just from our perspective, we think it's a better alternative, but you certainly live there, so I live a little further away. I used to live on Kennedy. We didn't have close park either, so yeah. And in the city, I mean, I know there's talk about taking that lot and make it into a park, but it's right next to the railroad tracks. The city right now has we're trying to add more facilities as the city grows. We've got we're working really hard to bring in more businesses down south along the railroad track. The home builders are starting to come back. Brown Homes started building over in McClellan Meadows and some other areas. So you're going to see more things come into the city. Hopefully, one of the effects of that will be we'll be able to look at other areas to see how we can improve things in the existing part of the city. I mean, that's our goal. We just haven't had as many resources, as we'd like to, as some other cities. So, but we certainly hear you, and we'll take those back to city manager and the police department and see what we can do. But this is a good alternative. We'd really like you to think about, because the option is that, and I don't know, Sure. Yes. Right. Yeah, that's the way it was platted out. Some of these have been there for years and years and years before I was ever even on. I got on council in '88, and all that stuff was existing. So back in the. No, I know. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of that stuff was already. If you see the plan up here on the left, see that was all part of that. So, yeah, and they came in with the, at the time, and so it was approved. I can't defend that. I probably. Say it's probably wasn't the best idea. Mm-hmm. No, because if you remember the flood last time, it came the other way. It spilled over from the east side and went over, and then it flooded the whole part of the city when the canal broke way down the street, and so it won't go up. That's uphill. I don't believe it'll go up the other way, and yeah, because I don't think. And plus, trying to put a pipe under the railroad track or a bridge is like, I mean, it's almost impossible. The railroad's just very powerful. They wouldn't even call you back. I mean, I hate to say that. But no, I believe Mike was talking about he's going to offer the lots, and also he was a home builder also, and so he would offer to build custom homes pretty much on these lots. I imagine you could if you're going to build your own house, but the HOA may control how soon a house has to be built, because a lot of HOAs will say you can buy this lot. Like there's some places out near KLC Ranch, and they say you can buy this vacant lot, but you have to build at least a 2,000 square foot home. Now, and some of them have timelines because they don't want people to just purchase them and sit on them, trying to resell them for more money later, just investors. So I don't know what Mike's plan is on that, but maybe you can answer that. So Mike, please, Madam Chair, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's one thing I've talked to my investors about is we want to see houses built on these lots. We don't want people speculating and come in and buy the lots and nothing being done with them. I live here. It's my town too. We're going to offer the lots for sale with us to build the homes. If they decided they want to build their own home, they have to have a permit within a year. They have to have a permit within a year, begin construction within that year. And that'll be written into our HOAs. And again, this is preliminary, but I don't want vacant lots sitting over there. And a lot of people are talking about the block walls. We don't want block walls. But that's one thing we're trying to stay away from, and even something we've been talking to the city about. We don't want the subdivision feel. We don't want brick walls around every single lot. We want open fencing along 3rd Street. Again, this is all in the preliminaries, but we want the white split rail fencing so it doesn't feel like you're trapped into a subdivision. But to address that, yes, we plan on building on all the lots, and if we do sell somebody a lot and they want to build their own house, then there'll be a stipulation that they have to build within XYZ days or whatever.
Thank you. If you'll come to the, yeah. And if you'll address us with the question?
Yes, my question is, hearing him talk about being the builder and the owner of the lots, I guess that's my question is, why the disparity in the lot size? Now, yes, he's promoting that, oh, it's only going to be 11 compared to 40-some, which sounds great, but look at the disparity in those lots. The lots along the canal are larger than our lots on Orlando, on North Orlando, but they're still nice-sized lots, and then you get those huge lots next to Palm Court there, and like the lady said, are they going to have horses there, or why are they so much larger? Are they planning on duplex-type homes, or?
No, it seems to me like it's more of a country-style living. So you've got the larger lots, got a larger home on there. You could, so it's that feel of like ranch-style homes. That's what that is. So it cuts it from being the 38 to only the 11 because you've got ample. It's almost an acre each lot, almost.
Now, some of them, that number 11, I think, is over an acre, if you look carefully.
Right.
And then the one
they
on...
could really plat it and do a preliminary plat as whatever size they would like. It's just...
And the one on 3rd there that faces closest to 3rd is less, but then the road is narrowed. So then I'm back to my initial concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, I've been taking notes throughout the public hearing. I think I can answer a lot of these questions.
Okay.
With the answer, maybe you'd like it or maybe you don't, but it's what it is.
Okay.
You'll
Would you
allow
like to
me.
share those with us, please?
We'll just start working down the list, and I'm gonna get up for this because it'll be easier.
Okay.
All right, we'll start with the Scupper, Amos. I know I wouldn't like that either, but we're not going to deal with that with this subdivision because it's just not part of it. And it was mentioned that this basin is overflown before, more than once. Okay. I believe this one it's probably taken all that water, which those lots are going to hold in the future. This wall that was asked about, coming down, I'm sure, and whatever fences go back up will be dictated by the HOA and the city code. The tract C that got crashed into, these guys are going to have to fix that and then maintain it from there on out. The streets issue that Ms. Pearson brought up from 50 to 40 down to 36, I think that's just a misunderstanding. Within this subdivision here and this subdivision here, your rights of way, the roadway dedicated for the purpose of the street, are 50 feet wide. Those roads are 36 feet wide. The driving surface, the areas outside that, they put utilities down and stuff like that. So the 36-foot road proposed here is actually going to be just a continuation of what 3rd Street is now. Same curb, same everything, it'll be that same width. Their roadway within their subdivision, their private road, is only 30 feet wide. And it doesn't have rolled curb or vertical curb, but it's a privately maintained road. It meets the access requirements that fire trucks need. And so for a private road, they can do that. If it was going to be a public road and the city was going to maintain it, they would go 36 feet wide. They probably have to put sidewalks in and all kinds of that, because that's what the city requires for roadways that we're going to maintain. Traffic. I get it. I have this problem in my neighborhood too, and I'm not going to tell you how I handle it because I'm wearing this logo right here. But I get it, and I have kids. And they run around. This is a good thing for you, for the traffic. We're going from 38 lots that they could break ground on tomorrow to 11. That's less traffic, any way you cut it. Parks. I love parks. I'd like to see more trees in town. But the reality is, these open spaces that were shown on this original plat weren't going to be for any of you guys anyway. It'd be much like you see, I'll take Heartland Ranch, for example. They have all the HOA stuff. If you look out there, they have signs, no trespassing, residents only. It's because the HOA lawyers make them put those signs up, because the HOA pays for those parks. They're not like Kenilworth Park or San Carlos Park or all these city parks that we have several of. We could use more, but these tracks that are going away weren't going to be usable for you anyway. The city has a requirement if you move beyond a minimum lot size. In this area, it's 7,000 square feet. If you want to deviate from that, you have to have 20% open space, and that's how those tracks were created in the first place. Going to these bigger lots, they don't have the open space requirement, but you guys aren't really losing anything in that. Speed bumps, unlikely on public roads. We've talked about them before. The city's apprehensive to put them in the past. We have done them on Northern Avenue between 9th Street and Kenworthy Road, coming off the high school. There were some bad things that happened there with some kids in the last few years. And so they got that. Really the only subdivision in town that has them is Coolidge Country Village at the corner of Vaki and 9th Street, and those are private roads, so they can put in speed bumps. They are rare on public roads. They're kind of a liability. Street lights, these guys will probably have to put a few in, but they're not going to improve anything outside of this. They can't put drainage over the canal on this property. This is private property over here. It's supposed to be condos. We'll see. But it's private property, so they can't drain onto that bridge or under the railroad. Act of God to get that done. The HOA, I think Mike covered that. None of you guys are going to get into a HOA. In the case of Mr. Zelinka's friend who moved in with no HOA and then had one, it was always there. It probably just wasn't active till a certain amount of the houses got sold. Let's see. The canal is a valid concern. That would be a lot of water if that thing broke. Keep in mind, these are going to be irrigated lots, so the excavation is going to be minimal. Pads are going to be built up. They'll be more towards the front. Engineering will have to prove that those lots are suitable to build on without impacting that canal and jeopardizing the neighborhood. And they will have a plan and an engineer stamp and someone who's liable prove that, along with their drainage. Utilities, I can't do anything about Cox. Yield signs replaced with stop signs outside in this. That has nothing to do with these guys, but I will pass that along to our Public Works Director. It sounds like anything we can do to help with traffic in there would be a good thing. Livestock, these lots can't have livestock. Most places in town, unless prohibited by an HOA, are allowed one piece of livestock per 10,000 square feet of lot area. Livestock has to be housed at least 50 foot from the neighboring residence where it sleeps. It can roam outside of that. If a horse knocked down your wall, that would be bad. But I heard they're great swimmers. Yeah, that would be scary. I'd get out. Some things about bridges and alternate entrances. I get it. It's all driven at your frustrations with traffic, which that's really scary when you have kids. I got kids too, and it's not like when I was a kid. But again, this is a lot more traffic than this would be. So it's not going to solve your problem, but it's going to make it not as bad as that will. It will have less of an impact on you. It is going to make, there is going to be more cars going back there when it gets built, but 11 instead of 38, I'd take that. Let's see. Accessing that canal and this whole area for walking and exercise, and that's great. Very convenient right now. If you want to do that in the future, you pretty much just have to buy the land. And I'm not trying to be rude. We get things like this often in these zoning cases where someone wants to build something. The neighbors are like, what's going to be in my view? Well, if you want the view, you got to buy the land that you're seeing across. These guys are no obligation to provide walking trails for their subdivisions. Legally, you're not really supposed to be on that canal anyway. I do it too. It's convenient. It's a nice trail to walk through, and this is certainly going to change the way you guys have had it. Change is inevitable. As staff, we have recommended approval of this. It is different, but it'll get rid of the dumping and the graffiti and the hot rodding around back there if they put houses, and I think those will all be good things for everybody who lives there. And it will be ultimately a lower impact than what was approved in 2005. This was dumb. I don't know who did that, but I don't think that should have happened. But it won't happen again in either one of those scenarios. Do you want 38 new neighbors, or do you want 11? Is really what this is coming down to. There will be another stage through this. They will work through engineering concerns, demonstrate that the canal is not going to be an issue, that the drainage can be accommodated, and no one's going to get flooded from that. And then it'll come back for final platting. There'll be more hearings. Everyone who got notified before will be notified. It's 300 foot from the property. It's also in the Coolidge Examiner. It gets published in there, notice of this hearing. Notice of any of our public hearings that we do. Actually, all four of the items on our agenda tonight, they were all in the Coolidge Examiner. There was a pre-plat before this that we didn't talk about, but it's all covered under state law. We meet that. We want to do stuff right. We want to be above board. We're not trying to be sneaky or get anything by you. But it kind of makes me smile when this many people show up, because usually it's pretty empty in here. So I'm glad you guys came, and I'm glad you care.
Should be our last meeting, right?
This one's much nicer than the last meeting. So I think I covered all the questions. If I missed some, we can try and cover them. If I overlooked anything or stated something wrong, the developer would like to correct me at the chairman's discretion, then that's fine, but I think that's all I have, Madam Chair.
There's a road passage that goes on the back side of that retention pond, back behind A and B, and up until back past the other retention pond that they're going to fill in. Just to let you know, it's there.
Hey, Miss, I know what you're talking about, and there's maybe we just have a little disconnect in the way we see things. For me, this is a road. This is a pathway someone has driven on and made tire tracks, but that is a private piece of property. This is it's right here. I know where you're talking.
It's a right of way.
That's railroad right of way. I can't get them to do anything. If that road is back there, it's in the railroad right of way, it will probably remain back there. Railroad doesn't generally get on you too much for walking on those roads. Yeah. We can't do anything with the railroad. They don't even answer our calls. For stuff like this is not in their area of concern. They're concerned with moving stuff from here to there, and they don't care about this subdivision being built or the motorcycle riding there, as long as they don't get hit by a train. I mean, it's the railroad's private property. If they wanted to fence it to keep people off, they could do that. Setbacks are designated from property lines. Building setbacks. They vary from zone to zone. Typical residential setbacks are 20 in the front, 20 in the rear, 5 and 10 on the sides, except corner sides are 20. They can vary from subdivision to subdivision and within zoning district to zoning district.
Well, some good example of that is if you go to Chandler on Arizona and you look to the right as you go north, there's a railroad running right there, and there's like $400,000 homes right up against those tracks. And I mean, they just got really good windows and soundproofing.
The railroads bother some folks more than others. I lived by them, and it drove me nuts for about a week and a half, and then I didn't even turn the TV up after that when it drove by. Couldn't even hear it. You guys probably don't even hear that railroad anymore.
You're the closest to it.
So I'd like to close the public hearing portion of this. If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve Cool PZ 180826 for further work to be performed.
I second that. I will second.
Okay, and just to make it clear, and it's as presented, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I don't think it's as presented. I mean, it's your option, but there's some comments that need to be addressed from an engineering and public safety standpoint related to the staff report.
Just a moment.
You're approving it to move forward and address the concerns that have been brought during final plating, which that's when all the real
You want me to restate?
fine-tooth
So
engineering
can you tell
happens.
us how to state that, please?
I can restate it.
Okay.
I move that Cool PZ 180826 be approved to move forward with engineering, addressing of issues, and any further things that might come up that need to be addressed.
Okay, a motion has been made. Do I hear a second?
I second that.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll move on to Cool PZ 18-8-27, like business separations. A public hearing to discuss minimum distance requirements between similar businesses. Director Lopez.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, this item was just brought up so you could just consider it. It came in through citizen comment, and they were looking at potentially separating a regular business from another business, and more because of the competition, which we don't agree with. You know, we have distance requirements between like businesses that we think will negatively impact the community, or we want to control how many there are, like the payday loans and other things like that. So this one came up and came in through a councilor. I just wanted the P&Z to consider it, but from a staff point, we would recommend not going there, because we'd be basically saying you can't have a dealership next to a dealership, and how would we handle when, you know, like dealerships tend to get around each other, or is this specific problem was related to a barber shop? So would you not have a barbershop next to a barbershop, beauty salon next to another? What about a mall? What would you do about a mall? You have a lot of different
restaurant,
yeah. So I mean, if you're, you know, so basically if your restaurant doesn't have the best food, but another restaurant moves in and gets a lot of customers from your restaurant, that's not, you know, you don't say, okay, I don't want the competition, so I'm going to make them move way down the street so they don't steal my customers. I mean, competition is what America's all about. So, you know, certain things do need to be separated, but we feel at this point that not overall business should be. But that's our staff comment, and you know, certainly this is brought to you just for discussion. That's all it is. So
We're just discussing it, right?
You can discuss whether we want to move forward with this, whether you feel this is a non-issue. As Director Lopez stated, a citizen approached Councilmember Marsh with this concern. Councilmember Marsh relayed it to me and asked if we could discuss this at a meeting, and as you know, I put things on the agenda that the council or the commission asks me to. So here we are.
I think this is a
It is a public hearing.
But, right, well, I'm discussing it here. So I think it's a non-issue. I don't know what you guys feel about this.
I think this is America, and it's free trade.
That's
And
exactly.
competition is what makes us beautiful.
So I'd like to open it up to the public at this point. If anyone would like to speak on this matter, please come to the podium, state your name and your address.
No. Next one.
It doesn't look like anyone has made their way to the podium.
Madam
We don't need to make a motion on this, right?
Madam Chair, if you'd like to close the public hearing, and then you may
Yes, I'd
direct
like-
staff to proceed however you like on this item.
Okay, I'd like to go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this item, and I think that this is a non-issue, and we should just close it at this point.
I understand. We will not bring this back
Everyone
for
agree?
discussion.
yes,
Do I
and
need to
from
make
the
a motion?
from staff's level, we see there's a concurrence.
Is there a
Agree, so
concurrence?
Oh, yeah.
so there's no action required on this item, so we're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's no motions or...
right.
Nothing, okay.
We see a
Non-issue.
concurrence, so we won't bring it back.
Okay, we're going to move on to D, Cool PZ 18-4-12, Rural Design Code, a public hearing to discuss implementing rural design standards for subdivisions having lots of 1 acre or more as an alternative to the current subdivision code.
Madam Chair, Commission members, I'll turn it over to Tim Hansen so he can talk about it a little bit, because we've added some things that he has up on the screen from your last comments, and then we've been working with Mike and some of our developers that are working out in the larger lots on the east side, so we think these are really good to consider. So we're bringing them to you for consideration and for discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, if you'd like.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Director Lopez. You guys may remember back in April, this is a discussion item based on input from local builders and people who buy in the rural communities, and it was identified that maybe we need a different set of standards for these larger acre plus lot zoned ag that are not in the core of town. You know, maybe we don't need curb gutters and sidewalks and street lights, and you're putting all that in and ruining the rural feel that I wanted when I moved out. There was kind of the sentiment. So we discussed with the commission, we had a public hearing. Many of you added comments, suggestions. We had several citizens and local business owners and builders show up and add comments and suggestions. We've taken those, had discussions with the fire chief, public works, and other staff internally. And this is what we're bringing back to you as a proposal to be crafted into a rural design code. I'll run through them real quick. We're clarifying that these shall only apply to residential lots of 1 acre or more zoned agriculture. An all-surface roadway that meets 2006 International Fire Code Appendix D shall be installed. Roadways will be privately maintained unless they're built to city standards. City standard is going to be actual asphalt on a base. Probably not. We have kind of a rural standard where they wouldn't have to do sidewalks, but they would have to build a real road for the city to take maintenance responsibility, and that would be handled. Public Works would be involved in that. We're talking about some kind of all-surface roadway that when it rains or something like that, a fire truck or trash truck can still get down. Any bridges, culverts, or the like constructed for the purpose of accessing the development shall require the approval from the fire chief and city engineer. We had an issue out east of town where some larger lots we annexed in had built a culvert over a irrigation ditch, and our fire truck and our trash trucks, one couldn't physically make the turn because it wasn't wide enough, and it was not adequate to, should they have made the turn, it wouldn't have supported their weight. Those have since been corrected by a guy building out there, but we would like to preempt this on the front end rather than the back end going forward. We currently require that driveways extend from the carport / garage to the adjoining street. And a lot of that has to do with tracking dirt and stuff on the streets. These roads aren't necessarily going to be paved anyway. In lieu of that, I'm suggesting the apron outside the driveway be 1.5 times the garage square footage. And all these things are negotiable. Throw them out, modify them, whatever. Driveways from the apron to the road shall have 3 inches of crushed granite or equivalent. It's just better to drive on. This is kind of an aesthetic thing. Make it easier for, if a trash truck is entering your property, to get a larger bin to get in. Again, this stuff is all negotiable. This is pretty standard. The guys I've seen build lately in these areas, they've put this decomposed granite or crushed granite out there. It packs down after a year or less of driving on it, and weeds won't even grow through it. It's a nice alternative to concrete. It's less maintenance than asphalt or concrete. It's cheaper. It's cost effective.
Yeah, we had a lot that we looked at, and the cost of the driveway, if we did it according to our development standards, would exceed the cost of the house that was going there, because you had a big lot and they had to have a driveway that went all the way to that house, and I mean that's crazy.
There's like a quarter mile of.
We found a way to make that a road and change it, but it took just some creative thinking to do it. But we, not everybody will have that type of situation where we can fix it like that, and thank goodness that Tim's ingenuity, we were able to get around it. But that's the kind of thing we saw that did make sense.
So no street lights, landscaping, curb, gutter, sidewalk will be required. You're generally not looking for street lights in places like this. You're looking for dark skies. Curb, gutter, sidewalk, again, not interested in that. Since the roads are going to be private, we don't need to put landscaping on. This is a rural feel. You'll get enough tumbleweeds. But somebody has to maintain that landscaping, and we don't, irrelevant. New construction within towns, your typical single-family residence, will have front yard landscaping. When you're going outside and you're buying this bigger lot with this custom home, or maybe even a manufactured home on it, you're probably going to put some landscaping in at some point. it's outside of town. You're not driving through a Heartland Ranch or a Carter Ranch where this makes a difference in the community. I mean, you got an 1.25 acre lot. How much difference is that 1 tree and 3 shrubs going to make in the overall scheme of things? They will generally do these things on their own. A lot of those lots are irrigated there. Trees are going to grow faster than anything planted in town. So for the most part, until this one, we're getting rid of things. And I guess this is my nod at bureaucracy. Minor land divisions will be reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval, denial, or modification. Commission will review the request within the context of the larger area where the land division is to occur for the purpose of orderly development. This process may or may not require a public hearing. Application fee may apply. May or may not be a public hearing is how we structure it. Fee, we have a land split fee in our fee schedule. It's currently $0. Those can be adjusted at council's discretion. And the reason for this, I'll give you an example in town. Out off of Attaway Road, there's a road called Northern Avenue. It's the extension of Northern here in town. And these houses, there's 5 or 6 of them. They face south, and Northern Avenue, as it's named and seems like a road, is a canal bank. There's kind of an access easement there, but the irrigation district owns that canal. If they were so inclined, they could shut that down, and these people do not have access anymore. Not to mention that that canal should have never been an access road in the first place. The city didn't create that. We annexed this. But we'd like to stop seeing things from like that happen. Those houses should have just been flipped 180, faced north, put the road on their north lot line instead of the south, and now you have that access for the next set of lots. So when the commission were to review this land division, they're going to look at the proposal and how these lots are going to be split, and then we as staff will provide an exhibit how that fits in to the area and what has been approved and where the roadways are, so we don't end up with these places that the roads are all like this. We can have some orderly form of rural development and not send out search parties when you give directions. Hopefully our trash trucks or emergency services will be able to find your house if we do this in an orderly fashion, but also not is to overburden the local builders, the rural homeowners who desire these kind of things, which what we require for improvement is contrary to what they're moving out there in the first place. So those are my suggestions. Add to them, take them away, provide direction. It is a public hearing. We have one interested party here at least who was a part of the initial discussion. He probably has some opinions on these. And I'm done for now.
Is there any questions, any discussion? Jim, okay? All right, we'll open it up to the public. Anyone would like to speak on the issue, please come to the podium, state your name and your address.
Mike Brinkroff, 429 North Knapp-Stigler, Coolidge. Yeah, I've been talking with Tim about this and some other builders. One thing on the minor land division that we had discussed, the Wildcat subdivisions like out there off of Northern are a mess. They are a complete mess. So for a small builder like me, I make my living buying a 5 acre piece, break it into 3 lots, 1 1/3 acre, and build custom homes. They can be a really good thing for the community. But the way it sits right now, it goes through Pinal County. Pinal County can approve it. And then it comes back to the city of Coolidge, and then Tim says, you're not within code, you can't build on it. Or I could take a 1 acre piece and break it down 6 times, and there's really not a process through the city of Coolidge to review the minor land divisions and say, yeah, here's emergency access. You're within our guidelines to build, a home on it or put a manufactured home. So I think the minor land division review by planning and zoning, it needs to be Because as it sits right now, you can just break up a piece of land and then go to the city of Coolidge, try to get a permit, and they're gonna tell you, no, sorry. You know, I think it's a missing step in the process. And they can be a really good thing and they can be a really bad thing. Like the example out of Northern, that is a mess. I know the city had nothing to do with that, that was annexed in, but they can also be a really good thing as long as they're reviewed, have proper access, emergency access, and, you know, has a bit more thought and dedication to it. So that was all I had.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
Mr. Brinkerhoff's kind of referring to, you know, when you record a minor land division at the county and you take your record, a survey over there, and what the county allows, the county will let you split 5 acres into 4 acre and a quarters. Coolidge, the way our code is a subdivision is more than 3 parcels. So if you did that, now you've made a subdivision. And you trigger subdivision code, and that's where we're here. So when people have done this, Mr. Brinkerhoff's done this, other people with the best of intentions, and then come in and, no, that's a subdivision. Curb, gutter, sidewalk. No, you can't have a house plan until you do that. And so we're trying to do a good thing here, I think. I think you guys pretty much echoed that sentiment last time. I think you were surprised when we initially discussed this that it is how it is. So once upon a time, minor land divisions were reviewed by city council prior to the adoption of our current zoning code in 2009. Somehow that came out, no one really noticed. Kind of adopted a lot of that code from elsewhere. I think this commission is more than qualified to deal with this land issue, which is really what you guys are doing. Land uses and plats and zonings and things like that. I mean, this seems like a logical place to put it. In crafting this into a code, it'll come back again once we get to that point and pending direction from you guys. And another public hearing, and ultimately it will go to council and public hearing and then adoption and then effective probably 30 days after that. But at this point, if close the public hearing, ask questions, to provide direction. No motion is required on this item.
All right, would anybody else like to speak on the issue? If not, we'll go ahead and close it to the public. All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments?
You said the triggers when there's 3 homes built within the same general area. That's when the triggers start for a subdivision?
When a piece of land is split into more than 3 pieces is the way it reads. I think it says more than 3, or if a new road is involved, or there's one more or. So it can happen at less than 3. Oh. Yeah. That's subdivision code. All right.
Look at you, prepared.
Is that similar to what like Florence, Coolidge, we're in Coolidge. Florence, Casa Grande, Eloy have? Is that kind of a standard?
Subdivision is our definition mimics what the state has in ARS statute, but what that definition requires varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So a subdivision is a subdivision. When it triggers the subdivision code can vary. Ours triggers it when it is defined, when it hits that definition. I think the counties is 5. You can split 5 times before it's a subdivision.
So I remember last discussion that was pretty interesting. We talked about maybe mirroring or having more of a congruent code as what Pinal County has. So what would keep us from moving to 5 instead of 3?
Nothing. Direction from commission.
Is that more user-friendly for guys trying to, keep that rural feel for their larger lots and maybe drive some more building?
This, moving from 5 to 3 just triggers when this kicks in.
It's still the old system. It doesn't include any of this.
Yeah, this is all new, so it's just a matter of when this would apply. 3s are pretty rare. They happen on weird pieces of land, and there's an acreage threshold here that happens too. I mean, if you're dividing 100 acres into 5 25-acre plots, or 5 20-acre plots, that's not that doesn't really trigger a sub. There's a threshold where those lot sizes matter. Okay, so a subdivision. Okay, so 4 or more lots, tracts, or parcels, or if a new street is involved, any such property which is divided into 2 or more lots, tracts, or parcels, or any property the boundaries of which have been fixed by recorded plat, which is divided into 2 or more parts. So earlier in the night, Orlando Estates from Sundance, that's a subdivision because it was already a subdivision. But there's no argument for that one. But the 4 or more, or if a new street is involved, we had this happen recently. It's still a gravel road. It's one lot behind the existing lot. The guy put the decomposed granite road in, and I mean, it's what you see out there, what gets done, and we would like to be orderly. Cities typically have more standards than counties. That's part of being in the city. The development standards just a little bit higher, but this seems reasonable. I'm not out there building houses. I don't know the financial ramifications of this, but I do know this is more palatable than what is currently required. So whatever direction you want to give.
Yeah, so at this point, you could then bring it back for a public hearing for commission's actions. Is that correct? If we are agreeing or nodding to.
We can bring this back as written. If you would like to make additions, deletions, we can bring it back however you would like us to do.
Any discussion?
If it should be crafted as written.
Crafted as written.
And you can think of it, and if you think of something, you just call Tim, let him know.
I do have a question for clarification from the commission, if I may.
Okay.
The last one here, dealing with the minor land divisions. Do we want this to be a public hearing or not a public hearing? I need to look and see whether there's a legal requirement, but if it's at our discretion, which would you prefer? This public hearing involves everyone in 300 feet, 15 days before the hearing, and publication in one local paper of general circulation 15 days before the hearing. And call to the, open to the public.
Well, I do think it's a little fair for those that are in the neighboring areas, and they should know what's going on within their, within 300 feet. I don't know, what do you all feel?
I think it has to be decided on a case-by-case basis. I mean, if you buy a 5-acre plot out in the middle of nowhere and you divide it up, you're not going to have anybody within 300 feet.
Correct.
We're not going to be able to draft an ordinance that lets us choose when we have a public hearing or not.
We do or we don't.
We just either do them or we don't. I don't care. It's more work for me if we do them, but it's not that hard.
Well, I think it's just fair.
It provides transparency.
Yeah, it's just fair that we do. It is transparent. if they don't have people within 300 feet, well, then it's an easy one and we get through it quicker.
There's always someone within 300 feet who owns the land. I mean, it might be the state land department, but someone owns it unless you have an island.
Right.
I don't think
I
we
would
have it.
say we would need to have a public hearing, but anyone's else opinion?
Okay. Given that we're going to have one, we probably need to draft an application fee. The advertisement costs they're not, it's not free. The mailings aren't free depending on the density of the development. I mean, some of these public hearings, I mail out 400 letters. Some of them I mail 5. But, I mean, there is a cost associated with that. So with the hearing, I would recommend we research a reasonable fee. We can research surrounding jurisdictions and stuff and find the middle ground. We're not going to get rich on this, but
Well, I think it's fair also that we develop a certain fee, if that's research or if that's doing an average of what we already charge. I'm not sure how that all applies, but
I can look into what our last one was, what the county charges, what surrounding jurisdictions do. County? Florence?
Charge $271.
99.99.
Be more reasonable.
The 270 0.17 just to mess with our finance director. About that.
He'll love that.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I understand the direction you have given us. We will craft something based on what we presented tonight and run it through Fire Chief and Public Works prior to bringing it back to you to find any public safety or engineering concerns with what we're proposing. And
the legal side of it too. We'll check
the lawyers and
the attorneys are just giving
all that kind of stuff. And once we get through all that red tape, then I hope to have it back to you and get this done by the end of the year. The market's heating up. It would be nice to, we got some big guys coming in building stuff. It'd be nice to throw our local builders a bone and let them do what they do around here, because the big guys aren't serving the market, our local guys are.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. Any reports from Development Services?
Madam Chair, Commission members, just the exciting news of Nikola, the big hydrogen electric semi-class 8 manufacturer south of town. Council will be considering a development agreement the 10th, next Monday. It's pretty exciting. They voted to approve an intent to enter into the development agreement the last meeting. So they're going to be here, and that'll be the step before everybody signs to continue on and agree to the development agreement. And really exciting, 1,700 plus jobs, average pay of $80,000 a year. Of course, that includes their engineers, their R&D people. They have a site in Phoenix that'll house about 300 employees. That'll be their R&D facility, and then the manufacturing will be down here.
Is this all skilled labor, or what is it? Is it?
Well, it's manufacturing, so yeah, it'll be some skilled, but it's going to require some skills because they're building a pretty high level of truck. Central Arizona College already has a curriculum for this type of construction. They were doing it with Lucid, even though students that attend this and get a certificate can actually go to work at Ross or Frito-Lay. It's the same kind of thing, but these are, hydrogen. They use a lot of aluminum, other types of metals, really high tech, really cool stuff, and very powerful trucks. 1,200 mile range, I think it is, and just pretty amazing.
Can we provide the workforce from Coolidge?
We hope to, yeah. I mean, they're going to try to hire as many local as they can. Obviously, they look at the whole area. If they looked at pulling people from Tucson and Phoenix also. The neat thing is if they can get, they'll be the first ones to open. So they'll have access to the first employees, because Lucid was supposed to, open, and we still hope they do, obviously, because it'll be good for the area. But if this opens first, they'll have first access to all those students that took those classes, waiting for those jobs. So So that'll be very good. And workforce development for the county and the state's on board. They're gearing up for all that. We'll be traveling tomorrow to Stantec to meet with them on handling all the plans and all the plan review and having inspectors. We'll probably have to put inspectors out there like we did in Glendale when we built the stadium. Chandler, when I worked there, it was Intel. We had trailers with people out there. All I did was inspect those buildings so they could go up and up and up. Really cool. Very exciting for us. This is only one of many. There's 2,700 acres out there, and there's 3 others we're looking at real closely right now that are in the running and looking at potentially locating here. And there'll be others. I mean, it's just...
Yep, just we need that one.
Yeah. And then home builders starting. Mike took off, but Mike's been building, but Brown Homes is building over in McClellan Meadows. Way Journey is looking at the other lots just on the other side in the same subdivision. There's another one north of the bus barn. Carl Anderson Homes? What is his name? They haven't submitted their plans yet, but they bought a bunch of lots. And then it's our understanding that there could be some of the big boys coming back once they have some issues they got to settle with their little water and things like that on some of the lots in Heartland and all those places. So we can start seeing things coming back the way they used to be. It's good
to see those fill back up.
Yes, get those. We got an inventory of like 2,000, a little less. I think it's 1,800 lots, right? That are actually ready to build on, and then others need a little bit more work with the water. But
2,326.
yeah, that'll keep us busy for a while. Even at
Permit ready.
Even if we were like Maricopa, they get 100 permits a month. It'd still take us a while to eat up that many lots. So it'll be work for quite a long time.
Perfect.
It's pretty exciting. Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you.
Do the wave.
Soon. Soon we will.
Like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, what?
They're itching to get into Heartland. There's Arizona Water Company is mostly the issue holding that up, and
yeah, they got to
I
work
do
out
say
some
that on
things.
video publicly in case they're watching, and maybe they'll get moving.
Yeah, we'd like them to work it out. A lot of lots in there. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
That's all you have? All right. Call the public. No one's out there? Close it. And let's go ahead and adjourn. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chairperson, I move that we adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Good night.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. A lot of people here tonight.